What's that? That's Mob King?
Niggas feeling marvelous.
Oh. You gotta get the shoes though. Y'all know what it is.
You got me. So at that time, when you know, I'm going to court, and we about to be on tour. We on tour. So
A whole nother tour.
yeah, we on a whole nother tour. So, you know, I'm going for my bail hearing in the feds. And the judge asked Jay, you know, everybody's saying all these good things and all that. You know what I mean? The character witnesses, Dame, and, you know, everybody's saying, and even Jay said a whole lot of good things about me. And the judge was more like, be go. Monitor.
You hear about them parties? Nah, that wasn't for me. No, sir.
Beanie Sigel was the
Yeah, he was fired.
and they would only let Beanie Sigel only sell so many records. This came from an executive. But Benny, they would let, you couldn't be bigger than Jay-Z on Jay-Z's label.
The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, alleges that rapper Jay-Z, along with Diddy, indecently house party in the year 2000 following the MTV Video Music Awards.
Holmes attended the award show with his then-girlfriend, Jennifer Lopez.
Diddy is probably going to spend the rest of his life behind bars, according to a lot of recent discussion. Rumors are now circulating that he is attempting to reach an agreement with the federal government by snitching and disclosing identities in return for a reduced sentence. Furthermore, we are not referring to a few minor players here. According to insiders, he is purportedly bringing up certain heavyweights, such as his old friend Jay-Z. Beanie Sigel is now weighing in and advising Jay to make a quick getaway while there is still time. Beanie seems to be certain that Diddy has significant information about Jay dating back to the 1990s. He seems to be implying that the situation behind the scenes is far worse than we initially believed. What specific information concerning Jay and Diddy's relationship does Beanie possess? Furthermore, is Diddy truly going to turn on everyone? Let us begin. Currently, there is a lot of talk about Diddy maybe losing it. Additionally, it appears like the pressure is increasing. According to insiders, Diddy may be facing dire consequences, perhaps death, and even the strongest begin to crumble in such circumstances. According to what we have been told, Diddy is not going down by himself. According to reports, he is prepared to begin identifying names, and not just any names, but Jay-Z. However, this is not a sudden development. Recall how Christian, Diddy's son, released the diss song Pick a Side last year, essentially warning his father's famous buddies that there would be repercussions if they did not come out and support him. In addition to failing to support Diddy, Jay-Z even persuaded his attorney, Alex Spiro, to state in public that he and Diddy were never even friends.
I mean, Mr. Carter has nothing to do with Mr. Combs' case or Mr. Combs. They knew each other professionally for a number of years, just like in all professions. People know each other. At the music awards, they support each other. If you go to the NBA All-Star game, they support each other. That's just how professions work. There is no closer association between any of them. That's also a matter of fiction. That's all that there is. He doesn't know anything about the charges or allegations against him. He has nothing to do with that case. And there's nothing more to say.
It is said that Diddy became enraged upon witnessing this. Several people with knowledge of the matter are now claiming that Diddy has had enough and is ready to reveal Jay-Z's deepest secrets in order to save himself. This is where Beanie Sigel enters the scene and explains why his caution to Jay-Z is so well-founded. One of Jay's most devoted warriors was Beanie. He also worked hard in the booth and on the streets during the Rockefeller period. Even when it cost him his freedom, he remained faithful. But Jay-Z did not support Beanie when he faced legal pressure. Now, when Diddy may spend the rest of his life behind bars, Jay-Z is once again absent. Diddy would have had a front row seat to a lot of what transpired behind closed doors at Rockefeller and eventually Roc Nation, given that Jay and Diddy have been close friends and associates since the 1990s. And that covers street ties, commercial dealings, and who was shielded when the federal agents began to snoop about. Therefore, if Diddy is truly snitching, he might be revealing how Jay-Z maintained his innocence while allowing individuals like Beanie to be blamed. That would validate everything Beanie has been saying for years, in addition to ruining Jay's reputation. However, let me provide you with some background on Beanie's tale. Beanie was not just another Rockefeller rapper in the early 2000s. He had a significant role. He assisted in labeling the map. He starred in films under the State Property Clothing Company, which he also owned. Thus, he was not merely a member of the team. Rather, he was constructing an empire alongside them. Then, however, things began to change quickly. When Rockefeller was disintegrating in 2000, 2004, Jay-Z and Dame Dash were secretly fighting over who should be in control. Beanie found himself in the center. Even though he was faithful to both of them, Beanie began to lose ground when Jay eventually took over the label with his new contract with Def Jam. All of a sudden, he was no longer included in the inner group. At the same time that all of this drama was unfolding, Beanie was facing significant federal charges, which is where the whole betrayal angle begins to make sense. Jay, however, did not intervene. No assistance, no legal defense, nothing. Beanie felt as though he had been abandoned, and that struck a deep chord with someone who was instrumental in creating the brand from the ground up.
Right now I'm facing weapons violations, attempted murder. They try and get a boy 20 to 40 years. They came to me with a deal. That deal was 18 to 36 years. Of course, I turned it down. Thought this was America, people. Guilty until proven innocent, huh?
Beanie believed that his Rockefeller group, particularly Jay-Z, would support him when he was arrested. However, all he received was complete silence. Additionally, Beanie has stated in interviews that he felt deceived and totally excluded by Jay.
You got me. So at that time, when, you know, I'm going to court, and we about to be on tour. We on tour. So
Whole nother tour.
yeah, we on a whole nother tour. So, you know, I'm going for my bail hearing in the feds. And the judge asked Jay, you know, everybody's saying all these good things and all that. You know what I mean? The character witnesses, Dame, and, you know, everybody's saying, even Jay said a whole lot of good things about me. And the judge was more like, me go. Monitor. And she said, you know, would you be willing, and that's the part that people don't have, would you be willing to be responsible for his whereabouts, not be responsible for my actions, just his whereabouts? Would you be willing to do that? Provide us with all the information, you know, saying that he's going to be here, there. And after all that good, he said no. But it was like the way he said it. And he put his head down, he was like, no, I've never been crushed like that ever in my life. Cause I'm like, damn, this is my man, like, hey. And I looked at it like, all right, oh. What if I had to get the out of there? I mean, I'm stood tall, almost. But what if I really needed to go? This was going on my mind. Like, get out of jail, like, yeah, like, bro, I had a 10th and the state and the federal government and all this shit. 40 years, it's over. This is what I'm facing, 40 years.
However, Dame Dash supported Beanie throughout the entire process, attending the trial to let everyone know he was not alone.
There 5 in the morning, caught a flat.
We caught a flat in Dame's van on the turnpike.
We gotta wait for the spare to come.
We're running a little late. And I gotta get suited up, booted up. And you know, he is our brother, so we'll be there to support him. Because it's a rock, we are family.
Additionally, Jay was busy releasing the Black Album and declaring his retirement, only to change his mind a few months later, while Beanie was enmeshed in legal disputes. Furthermore, Rockefeller had lost some of its former power by 2005. Dame and Biggs left Def Jam to work on other projects, while Jay seized the lead. Beanie, however, was stranded. The Becoming, a solid album he primarily recorded while juggling his legal issue, was released that year. However, regardless of how amazing it was, it did not have the necessary support, and Jay was not even giving Beanie attention. In subsequent interviews, Beanie has hinted that he was being ignored. He even claimed that Jay prevented him from pursuing other possibilities, keeping him affiliated with Rockefeller but never truly supporting or advancing his career. When Beanie released the diss single What You Talkin' About in 2009, which was obviously directed at Jay-Z, things really took off. Beanie also did not hold anything back. He criticized Jay for being phony and self-centered, claiming that Jay had exploited him to get street cred before discarding him when he was no longer needed.
The question is, did Jay really call up them people? Just need to know to add them to the infested extermination list.
Listen. Before I even got there to the building, you gotta understand this. It's all documented. This year's Powerhouse, Jay came last year. And the Philadelphia Daily News, the day after the Powerhouse, it had an article. And I didn't even go to the Powerhouse last year. It had an article in it. Inside sources say Jay-Z beats up security and threat that a retaliation from Beanie Sigel for dropping him from the label.
This was in a newspaper.
It's in the paper. It's public record. Go. It's $20. You can search it and find it. It's public record. That was last year. So when I'm reading, it's like, damn, what the f? You know what I mean? Inside sources say.
Right.
Where that come from? I ain't never see the Powerhouse where they got boot cops walking around with K9s and all that shit. Go on the internet, Google it. Bernard Hopkins was there. I didn't even know Bernard was there.
Right.
Go to allhiphop.com. He confirms it.
So there you are, just like the song says, in front row.
Yeah, I stood right in it, and because they made sweeps.
Jay responded by acting as though it did not matter. He also placed the blame on Beanie, claiming that Beanie's refusal to take responsibility for his own issues was the root of the issue.
Well, Beanie Sigel is complaining a lot these days.
Well, he has a lot to complain about.
I know.
Not me.
Well, actually, this morning I just got a brand new interview. It's half an hour long, and he's talking basically about you, about the company, about basically how you didn't push him as much as, let's say, 50 Cent pushed some of his boys. How do you feel about that?
Well, Beanie Sigel at the time, and you can look it up if you like, but just to be honest, was driving 2 Bentleys. I don't know how. It's impossible to drive 2 cars at one time. With his mama in the sticks and selling 800,000 records, I don't know what more can you do for somebody, at that point. What people choose to do when they attain that type of success, at some point you have to look in the mirror and look at yourself. Beanie Sigel had a record deal, a record label, and a clothing line. I mean, it never went platinum, ever. I don't know in the history of rap has anyone done so much with so little.
However, it appears that Beanie is prepared to acknowledge his mistakes in the present. His greatest mistake, though, was putting his trust in Jay-Z rather than Dame. In a recent interview on The Art of Dialogue, Dame criticized Jay, claiming that he had deceived Beanie and that he had purposefully ignored him, destroying his career. According to Dame, Beanie is Rockefeller's future and has the potential to continue the entire tradition. Beanie, however, remained faithful to Jay because he believed that Jay had his back. He was unaware, however, that Jay would not simply abandon him. Allegedly, he was working behind the scenes to prevent Beanie from returning.
Beans was getting ready. We thought he was going to go to jail for a couple of years. He was on trial. So I was trying to make 4 albums for him, or 5. I was more bothered when Beans chose to go with Jay. That one hurt. Because I'd done a lot and prepared. I chose State Property over Rockware. And I wanted to just roll out with State Property. But it almost like he tricked Beans to shelf him, and he fucked his life up to me doing that. But I had him, you know what I mean? Like, that was my new Jay.
Beanie then made the decision to speak up, essentially agreeing with Dame and acknowledging that he had taken her for granted.
Dame actually came and got me when I got out of prison. We was on a tour bus, and they was interviewing me. And they asked me then and there on a bus. Now I'm just getting out of prison. Like, he at the jail picked me up. And they posed that question that I was, or made the statement that I was going to be with Dame Dash Music Group. And I said then that I didn't want to make that choice between Jay or Dame. I just wanted to stay neutral. I believe if we had those conversations, I believe I would have rolled with Dame. I'd have rocked with Dame. Yeah, if Dame set me down and he had a plan, regardless what the plan was, and mapped it out like this was going to do, the smartest decision at that time for me would have rolled with Dame, because Dame was more accessible
Regarding Jay-Z, Beanie stated that it seemed as though covert actions were being taken to prevent him from progressing further. For example, Jay only allowed Beanie to sell a certain number of records and always released his albums around the same time as Beanie's. Even though Beanie acknowledged some of his own errors, such as his legal troubles, he made it apparent that Jay's behavior was not merely an accident.
I don't think one man can destroy another man's life. It's ultimately in your own decisions. You know, I had a lot of issues. Like I said, legal issues at the time. And, you know, my mind wasn't where I'm at now today. Like, I used to have questions like why every time my album dropped, Jay would drop right on top. He wouldn't let me breathe, or right before me. Like, I was always close, and I never understood that every single album that I dropped, Jay dropped right on top.
Fans are already beginning to see connections between the various rumors that Diddy is prepared to come forward. When things get serious, Jay-Z has a history of leaving friends hanging. Additionally, it is possible that karma is finally catching up with him. Who knows what else might surface if Diddy does start naming names?